So I got this stalker from Nebraska harassing me. The one who keeps getting on watching my Facebook or watching my YouTube and then takes the stuff that they learned from YouTube to try to, well, come up with all sorts of different excuses. First, they claim that I gave them my number a few months ago and I left my stuff over there a few months ago. Then it was, they found my number in my bags of evidence. It was, what else? The thing is, when I tried to turn this into the police, when I had a place, it was taken from me because my predators who I was trying to turn in. That's right, Ken Wilson, Leah Plunkett. Those are the people I was staying with before Natalie was killed. Now, I had a choice between staying in low income in Chapel, Nebraska, or staying at Ken and Leah's. And with the people in Nebraska telling me I had to go to the Front Range for services, and being the fact that, well, at least if I was in Colorado, I could still help my friends. Whereas in Chapel, Nebraska, what do? I only exist when they want help in Chapel, Nebraska. That's the only time I exist to any of those folks. Dallas Richmond got a 7-month vacation where all he did was get drunk and play video games. And he was able to go on that 7-month vacation because I paid his bills and so did his family. When he was victimized, I definitely spoke up about it. I also spoke up about how that affects me. That shuts me down. That makes me incapable of functioning. Oh, we got dipshit here still obviously sending me messages. That's text messages. Because this person has my phone number, which, well, that's inevitable. People like to go through my videos to try to twist things into something they ain't. And without friends or family to help me to turn this in, this is the only option I have. All these people who are mad at me about telling the truth on the internet and about recording our conversations that show I told the truth. Every single one of them could have done the right thing. They could have done the friend thing or the family thing. They didn't. They showed outright that they didn't care. They showed outright that being dismissive towards me and everything that I have to say. They showed that that's what mattered, trying to hide their involvement. Trying to hide the fact that they knew me. Trying to hide the fact that they'd come to me for help on multiple occasions, and I had indeed and in fact helped them. Many of the people who offered to help me never ended up helping, ever. When I needed people to speak out, did they? No. No, they would argue with trolls in Natalie Bollinger groups. As far as looking at evidence and sharing it and actually speaking up, no, nobody did that for me. People only did that for the Bollingers. They only picked out little bits and pieces. And you get to see how many people were involved in that. The situation with Natalie Bollinger and her friends and family stalking me, they didn't just stalk me in Colorado, it was also in Nebraska before she died. It wasn't just on the internet, it was also in real life. And you guys don't stop to take any appreciation for that. You post up all this stuff on your Facebook. Oh, warn your children about predators online. Predators online don't just target children. They also target the elderly, the disabled. You go to any of these CPS stole our children sites on Facebook. You go through some of their older posts. This is because people know that it's a long haul situation in that. So these scammers get on there a few days after that post has been put up. And they start telling you if you send them money and spend all this time to send them evidence, and you send them the evidence and you send them the money and they never do anything. They're scammers. one of those people can get on one of these Facebook sites. Facebook, that's right. And scam anywhere from 50 to 100 mothers a week if they're really at it. You just get on there and you spam them all with your little messages of, I do care, PM me. There's a lot of scammers that do that, aren't there? And a lot of you, well, I got to be honest with you. I consider most of these mothers to be severely mental enough and delusional enough that they are at high risk of being taken advantage of by intelligent people. Kind of like the ones who type about how Jesus, and they tell you they'll help you. And you show them evidence, and you send them the evidence, and they say they'll look at it, and they say they'll speak up, and they never do. Later on, they let you know they never bothered to look at the evidence. They just wanted to tell you that Jesus loves you. They just wanted you to know that Jesus is up there, and all you have to do is accept him into your heart. So you never helped me. You just pretended to so you could be a used car salesman about your knockoff deity. That's just nuts. It's not that I'm a Satanist, which many of these wannabe Christians want to claim, oh my God, he's a Satanist because he doesn't believe in our Jesus. You guys believe in the Rambo Jesus. The Jesus that tells you that it's okay for you to not only judge others, but to pass harsh and cruel and unjust punishment upon them without all of the information. You heard a rumor. You were told that this, or you were told that, and you just believe it because of your own bias, because of your own mistaken beliefs. You want to take a look at arrest records and convictions and believe that shows that men are worse than women. What you don't look at is that women are more likely to get a slap on the wrist. People are far less likely to listen to a male victim. They are far less likely to believe that a woman would do or could do something like that. And even if they are aware, as nearly all women are, that women are capable of those things, you don't want the scrutiny, the public eye, the attention of sticking up for somebody in that situation, because our society still tells us we're supposed to take the women's side no matter what. If you take the man's side, then you're a horrible person. How about you take the side of the evidence? Now, what's something that these Natalie Bollinger groups do? They go through my situation and they pull out little bits and pieces that they can twist out of context. And that's why this never should have been done publicly. This should have been done by the cops and the courts. When I first went to them about it, when Natalie's mom first called them in fucking Virginia, when I was dehydrated and stuck in the road with a busted fucking phone that I didn't even want to fucking begin with. You say don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I didn't look at the phone before it was given to me. Yes, it was a gift, but it did not work. It did not function properly. It did not work properly. Alicia Bollinger said she would show me how to use it. It was a smartphone, my very first one. And it was busted to shit and didn't function right. And I was treated and still get treated like hell over that. I tried to explain what was going on in person. I got my fucking car stuck. I'd been dehydrated in that fucking car for 5 days. The evidence between me and Natalie shows that they knew I was fucking dehydrated on my birthday. It shows that they're the ones who wanted to go to Elliot's Coffee Grounds. While they were claiming I stalked them, I was there because they asked. We went to the Pagoda in Norfolk because that's where they asked. That's where they wanted to go. I stayed in the Walmart parking lot, but they wanted me to stay behind the Starbucks that Alicia Bollinger's boyfriend worked at, because it was only 2 doors down from the cricket store that she worked at. I went there because they asked me to. In specific, Alicia Bollinger, who is still alive, We went to Virginia Beach because that's where they wanted to go. I did what they wanted. But when I was in a severe amount of stress and duress, miles and miles from any loved ones, actual loved ones, other than those two, with most of my friends throwing me away as soon as I hurt my back because I could no longer do free shit for them. Natalie Bollinger and Maddie Bowe were the people that pulled me out of my funk. Natalie Bollinger is the reason that I did not commit suicide in 2016. Natalie Bollinger is the reason that I was able to go rescue Jamie Curtis and her son when she moved out of James Payton's place. No matter what story she told, when she asked for a hero, told me she needed a hero, she knew what response she was going to get. I'll be there as fast as I can. Why is it that I do that? Is it because I'm Captain Save-A-Ho? No, I'll save men, save. And have. When Jason Jefferson was married to Brandy Fish, and she was strung out on meth and stealing his shit and selling it, she was selling it to a woman named Crystal and her boyfriend, Tom Nelson of Garden County. I knew that because I was friends with Tom Nelson of Garden County and his girlfriend, Crystal. I was also friends with Jason Jefferson, and I was also friends with his wife, Brandy Jefferson at the time. I got a lot of recordings. There's a lot of stuff that was destroyed, and with me being forced into a position of homelessness where my stuff is subject to being stolen at any point in time, any officer can steal all of my evidence against them just by pressing false charges against me or by ignoring all of the crimes against me, all of the evidence, all of the witnesses, and only selling one narrative. They should have tried to investigate. They didn't. They insisted that a disabled homeless man who doesn't have enough money to take care of himself or a place to process the evidence should do the police's job for them. That's not fucking okay. I shouldn't have to do this on the internet. And if I had friends or family that were worth a shit, I wouldn't have to. If my friends or family had come forward with what they know, I wouldn't have had to record it after the fact. That they did know something was going on. That I am different. That I am showing signs of long-term fucking abuse at the hands of law enforcement and the American public because you hate the homeless more than you hate anyone else. And everything is the fault of men. There is zero accountability for the rest of you. You pick a homeless, disabled man, you call him mentally ill, you can literally blow his head off and nobody's going to give a shit. You have to kill like 8 or more before they'll take a look. Fucking pieces of shit. Meanwhile, being forced to do it publicly like this, because I can't function. At least I can speak, and I don't even do that well most of the time, because this is such a complicated situation with so many people involved. Each and every one of them showing their bias, showing their sexism, showing that their pretty words of bullshit are not help. That they're, oh yes, I'll speak up. Oh, but now I'm going to send you $50 6 months later. And then 6 months after that, when I still haven't spoken up, I'm going to go, oh, well, I gave you $50. Remember that money I sent you? Money? You mean $50. I get that that's a lot of money to you. How hard did you have to work for that? How many hours did you have to work for that? Imagine if you had kept that money and the equal amount of hours or more that you spent arguing with me and trying to be negative, trying to pretend that it'll never work to do it the legal way. It'll never work to even try. So each and every one of them making me go in by myself because their excuse is that it'll never work. It does work if you actually do try, but poor people, you can see in the United States, they've been beaten down to the point that they are cowardly. They will not stick up for another human being. It's not we the people when you're poor. It's, God damn it, I got to get mine, I got to get up and out. It's, hey, I need shoes that I don't have to duct tape together because I'm too broke for duct tape. Why don't you just buy a nice pair of shoes to begin with? Well, you know, it's nice for you who gets to drive everywhere, but for most of my life, I didn't have a vehicle, or at least not one that ran. This is, what, the 18th, 19th vehicle that I've had now? I get the bottom of the barrel on its last leg vehicles, and, you know, before I got that, Honda Civic from David and Laura Nelson, I'd never had a car. What? Oh, no, I got to take that back. The one that I got, Fred Amon. Her real name is Cammie Amon. She used to be married to Rory Jepsen. I got her old car. It was a Chevy Cavalier, I think. It was a badass ride. That broke down literally over the Little Bighorn River, in between Buffalo, Wyoming, and Hardin, Montana. And it sucked. There was a rock that there's a dust cover on the bottom of it, over where the starter engages the flywheel. I had to learn this shit. You're welcome. Small engines work very similarly, and I've worked on a lot of small engines just because I got stuff that was broke that I needed it to work. So I'm good at ghettoizing and stuff. But I'm also overwhelmed at all points in time, and the more scared I am, the more communication issues I have. The more difficulties I have functioning. And the problem is that it's a situational problem. Drugging me isn't going to fix the situation. It's also not going to make people trustworthy when this bias is held by pretty much everyone in the United States. If they don't hate the homeless, then they hate men. Or they have to assume that men are guilty because they don't want to be ridiculed or criticized for sticking up for a man. There's a woman named Chloe Roma, and she does speak up for men's rights and women's rights. But she is targeted by a lot of man haters because she speaks up for men's rights. She's also Canadian. There's also a couple of ladies in New Zealand and a couple of them in Australia speaking up, and men speaking up all over the world. And there's women in India speaking up about the bias against men and how horribly men in that country are treated. And you want to pretend that that's not happening here. We need to start calling reverse sexism what it really is. It's just sexism. It's not reversed racism, it's just racism. When I spout racist crap at you, I know it's racist. When I spout sexist crap at you, I know it's sexist. You guys get to hear in the environments that I'm in that I get to hear this crap from both sides, sexism from men and from women, and how I speak out against both. It is not all women who do these things. It is not all men who do these things. But it is all men and all women in the United States looking away from it and treating men differently because of it, that we are in the state of crisis that we are in now, where we are allowing statistics to be skewed by groups that want to ignore statistics with women. How many of these domestic violence groups or Save Our Children groups, how many of them are advertising that the number one murderer, most likely in that situation, isn't a complete and total stranger? It's your fucking mom. Holy shit! Do you go after all moms? No, you don't. Who is most likely to molest a child? The father. 80% of the time, it's one or the other parent. Now we're coming to realize that that statistic is much, much higher. I've already had multiple men on my trip from Nebraska to Oregon here to rescue a friend who was human trafficked and to hopefully testify in court. They tried to gaslight her the same way. However, she is on methamphetamine, she is on drugs, she is an addict. But that doesn't mean that she wasn't victimized by these very same people. Many of my predators, well, she knows them, or has tried getting in contact with them, or has been in contact with them. She's a homeless female. She's different than those of you who have never had to experience it. Well, you guys are afraid of going homeless, but you want to tell us homeless people how free we are and how you wish you were as free as this is not free. This is expensive as fuck, you stupid SOB. Like Joanna Taylor Smith. All right, here, let me tell you it like this, pretty blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl. I don't live in a fantasy world in the United States of America. I don't have the blonde-haired, blue-eyed, pretty white girl thing going on. I don't go to a bar and have a bunch of people offer me drinks, unless it's people who know I don't drink. I don't have people that I can manipulate all super easy just by biting my eyes and pretending I'm interested. I don't get the luxury of believing that pretty memes fix it. You, with all of your help and assistance and resources, when you are depressed, yeah, you probably need medications. But let me tell you something. That fat girl down the street with the dark hair, she's got balding patches from stress. She's got acne from stress. She can't afford birth control and her daddy won't stop fucking her. Yeah, your pretty memes don't do shit for that girl. You just need to let it go doesn't do shit for that girl. You as a pretty blonde-haired, blue-eyed white girl, if you are offended because someone looked your direction, he can literally go to fucking prison. Because you're offended that he looked your direction. Never mind the hell that you put men through if they say hello. I can understand being offended if he said, "Hello, nurse." But then again, we got that being taught in cartoons. Animaniacs. Hello, nurse. That is geared towards children and for children. We teach them this at a young age. There is a reason that you guys want me to stick up for the LGBT community, but I still have to tell you the statistics on these things. When it comes to doing physical harm to your partner, homosexual males do the most physical damage to one another in a relationship, statistically. When it comes to the frequency and commonality of physical assault and abuse, lesbians, that's female homosexuals, have the highest rate. I'm not using that as an excuse to look away from all of the LGBT people who are harmed. I'm not using that as an excuse not to speak up when somebody in the LGBT community is harmed, is abused, is sexually assaulted, or physically assaulted. Matter of fact, that's verification that I do need to do something. I do need to get involved. This person is reaching out to me because they're being abused. Helping their abuser to get away only allows that abuser the idea that it is okay to do such a thing. It reinforces their belief that they will get away with it, which increases their chances of doing it again. A lot of killers, serial killers, this is something that I learned recently. They'll kill somebody, and they're so paranoid that they're going to get busted that they don't kill anybody for a good long while. But then they realize they didn't get in any trouble and how easy it was to get away with it, and they do it again. And again and again and more frequently. Until there's the heat on them because it's all over the news, then they, of course, will sometimes go dormant, but sometimes by that point they can't. They can't stop killing. Much like lies, once you start telling lies, you just can't stop, can you? My predators will tell any lie in order to keep my evidence from showing up in court. That includes many conversations and many harassing phone calls and phone numbers. That also includes a lot of information on how these people got that. My predators did everything that they could to destroy any and all evidence that showed I was telling the truth. The Michelle Brannick profile, that was destroyed before I was ever able to take a screenshot. Yeah. And it's sad because it shows. When I went to Veronica Bruce, this is after I've been going through hell for 6 months. 6 months as if being treated as if I was a child molester or a rapist every time I went to see my support network. As a disabled adult, I am easy to take advantage of because I am in a desperate situation. I am easy to harm because of my physical disabilities. I have to be afraid of defending myself or protecting myself because of my financial and legal disabilities as well as my looks. Studies have shown that while women are 11 times more likely to be stalkers, men are between 6 and 26 times more likely to be arrested or convicted. Many of these teachers that have been busted having sex with their own students, even being pregnant with those students' children, underage students, 13 and 14 years of age, getting their 27, 28, 29, 30, 31-year-old teacher pregnant. One of them was, what was it, this year already? 24 years old the teacher was. The student was 13. One of the teachers here in Tillamook, female teacher, same thing. But they get slaps on the wrist. The average for a female predator like that is 8 months. 8 months behind bars, most of the time never even being transferred to the Department of Justice, Department of Corrections. Because it's less than a year, well, they get to serve it in the county jail. That's when they're sentenced to less than a year. Sometimes they're sentenced to more than that, and they do have to go to the big house. But they get time served and get released quickly. When you look at the arrest records on domestic violence, you're supposed to arrest both parties if both of them were violent. But you get to see how body cameras, despite what body cameras show, the police always show their bias. It is very rare that a police officer will side with the male, even if he's bleeding. One of the things with my friends is that I had the evidence that I showed the truth, but the cops wouldn't look at it without a friend or family member there to help. A friend or family member who cared. But how many of these people cared? For a whole year, on my Facebook, I cried out for help. I tried to explain what was going on. I even took the blame for everything that happened in Virginia, even though it was not my fault. I did not choose for that phone that Alicia Bollinger gave me for my birthday and took my number off of my flip phone, which worked perfectly fine. It took 2.5 hours for her to get that transferred over. She was very frustrated. She quit her job 10 minutes after doing that. No joke. Straight up quit. After having my phone number go from my, it's not Straight Talk, it was True Talk, one of them pay by the minute phones, flip phones, you know? That was the flip phone I was looking for after Natalie disappeared, because it showed a lot of the stuff in there with her and her boyfriend and a lot of other stuff. It also showed that we were friends, that it was her and her sister inviting me to do these things, that they did in fact get me that phone for my birthday, that it was broken. It was Natalie's old phone. If Natalie had known that her sister was doing that, she would have told her sister not to. Now, without any of these services that you send me to actually doing the job about the crimes or allowing me a place where I can sit down and turn them in when they happen, it just keeps on happening. And somehow, magically, it's okay. Someone calling themselves Georgia typed, "You look like someone that would smoke weed." I've smoked a lot of weed in my lifetime, but I'm not real big on smoking it. I also cry a lot. Right now I got allergies, so I've been sneezing a lot. I live in some pretty, how do I describe it? Uncivil conditions. And for surely unsanitary. Well, Scott Scudder's not far from here. Believe it or not, I do like him. He don't like me right now, though, which is fine. He doesn't have to. I still like him. Matter of fact, I avoid anything strawberry just in case he chooses to interact with me. I had to try going public. And there's a reason for that. For years, I tried to get heard when I was abused, taken advantage of. It's easy to take advantage of me. I'm a male. I'm intelligent, so I can't be disabled. But I'm disabled, so I can't be intelligent. Then you just kind of gloss over the term mentally ill to pretend like I'm schizophrenic. The police prey on the fact that they have badges, and the hospitals and places like that are just going to believe them if they say something. Like police officers trying to diagnose me as schizophrenic. A police officer can't do that. Now, I had been diagnosed as bipolar as a child after trying to turn in predators in a facility that were staff members. And of course, when I was speaking with Marcia Estrada, that conversation with us on this channel, that's one of my therapy sessions. She speaks about that, about how bipolar is not the same, about how I'm not bipolar, and about how when somebody is in a severe state of stress, yes, sometimes it can manifest itself or look as if it's bipolar. Sort of. Now, I want you to look at how frequently people threaten to kill me and my friends and family. How many people got a hold of me to tell me that they were threatening to kill my friends and family? How many of my friends and family got a hold of me to tell me about that? But then, my predators pretend that I'm schizophrenic and made it all up. That includes law enforcement. That's their first go-to. If you're a homeless person, they automatically start with that bullshit as soon as you go somewhere. Telling somebody that you're on drugs, that you're a meth addict or a drug addict or a schizophrenic. That doesn't mean that there's something wrong with you. That means there's something wrong with them. They're up to some shady shit and they're trying to pull the wool over people's eyes. They're gaslighting you from the start. Lucky me, I record people. And when they speak up about those gaslightings, I speak up about it on my ding 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 YouTube. I also post up as much evidence as I can. And given my physical limitations, when I'm able to go into somewhere and work on it, I do. Having to go to the second floor of the library, that is a pretty long walk. It is not easy for me to do, and my back is fucked, so carrying things in there fucking sucks. I don't have enough money to survive the month on for certainly. And then I'm expected to do a bunch of things that cost money. And then I get people who want to invite me to go by where they live and they'll help me. But then when I get there, what's going to end up happening? I'm going to be homeless. I'll be victimized in the same type of communities as anywhere else. A lot of these people, it's not that they want to be evil people, it's that they're in desperate situations, and it's a matter of desperation. The things that Tom did, and the things that he took part in with Molly, I don't believe that's because he's some sort of an evil scammer. He's in a desperate situation, and she happened to have some resources that he could utilize. She got those resources because she has a vagina, because I had been denied all those resources. I had been denied all of those resources here. But Molly plays victim, and look at how much they gave her. They gave her a room, and that's how she was able to entice Tom to go back to more abuse. Well, he can have the abuse. The fact is, I got the recordings, and the cops should have fucking done something about Molly from the start. You also get to see how a lot of people who claim to be gung-ho about helping me, how they never spoke up. And then, of course, like with Christine Buhit, as soon as she got into housing, yeah, her days were numbered. She now had a place where she had ready access to a safe environment to do drugs. Instead of doing drugs, she could have tried being a friend and helping. Instead, what she did was get angry at me. As soon as she got into housing, that was literally the first thing she did. Destroy an entire Facebook page full of evidence. That's the first thing she did. And call me up and treat me like shit. Like, I've got multiple recordings with Christine Buhit. She's dead. Rhiannon Ingersoll is also dead. I got her recordings as well. I got screenshots with Anna Hunka. She's dead as well. And Janine Barrett, and she's dead as well. Same thing with Mobley, a.k.a. Stephen McMillian, and he's dead as well. And Stephen Green, who is also dead. And Tim Cossack, who is also dead. I've also got recordings and evidence with myself and a man in Greenock, Scotland. Same thing with David and Katie Saltzman up here. I've got recordings with Katie Saltzman, who is missing. Daniel Apathy is the one in Greenock, Scotland, who's missing. Recordings with these people are on my YouTube channel. Then there's Candace Bondurant, who claimed that her family was threatened more than once. And then there's her mother, who speaks about being afraid and why. There's Amanda DeMette, who talks about fears for her children and the corruption in Dual County, Nebraska. The parts that she was involved in, she was involved in. I even thanked her for them. She said, "You're welcome." Of course she would. I was grateful for that stuff. But she never spoke up about it. I had to record it and put it on my YouTube channel. And she was fine with that too. So it's definitely for certain that there's evidence, and there's plenty of it. It's a matter of getting heard as a disabled homeless male. My guilt is just assumed, and then there's the sleight of hand that law enforcement is able to do to pull the wool over the eyes of the public, of judges, of lawyers. Meanwhile, none of those judges or lawyers or any of the rest of them give a fuck about you. And when you're called mentally ill, they don't give a fuck what you got to say. They don't give a fuck what you got to show. You're not a human being. You are a fucking stamp on their bread fucking line, all right? You are an extra ticket to the movies. You are their electric bill or their 70-inch TV. You're their nice car. You're their new judge's robe or their custom engraved gavel. You are dollar signs to those son of a bitches, every one of them. You are not a human being. Our prisons and jails are not for punishing the guilty. They're warehouses so you don't have to see poverty. And they leave just enough impoverished people out for you to see, for you to hate us. They leave the worst of the worst on the streets and lock up the victims, and you help them to do it. It's not that I didn't go to my friends or family. It's that the important part was speaking up and getting this into court as soon as possible. As soon after Tim Beeson threatened my life as possible. Now, how did that situation go? Veronica Bruce, on June 28th of 2017. I got a hold of her as a last-ditch effort after jumping through all of the hoops with Sandhill Crisis Intervention Program, after jumping through all of the hoops with Region 1, after jumping all the hoops with therapist Nicole Peralta, and jumping through all of the hoops with Tamara, who was supposed to be my caseworker, and she did a good job. After jumping through all the hoops with Cindy Taylor of Chapel Housing Authority and Cheyenne County Housing Authority as well. After jumping through all the hoops with all of those peoples. After jumping through the hoops of trying to speak to police officers about it. And always having to do so alone. Having to go to all of my appointments alone. When I went to go see my friends to try to explain it, the friend who was going to help me, instead of that person stopping and actually helping me, they want me to hang out with the other people until they get back from doing whatever it is they want to do, and then they'll help me. And then when they come back, they're too tired, too exhausted. You know, if I'm too tired or too exhausted, you call me lazy. You just change the words, and it's magically different for you than it is for me. Do you know how exhausting it is for me to get treated like shit by Derek Parrish and ultimately assaulted over the situation because Joanna Taylor Smith, the pretty person, was going to help me? I went over there to get that help. Did I get that help? No, I got fucking yelled at and screamed at for days. Not by Joanna Taylor Smith. But when I tried to talk to Joanna Taylor Smith, it was either talking to me like I was a retarded fucking puppy, or talking over me to say, oh, I know how you feel. Or, you know, Sean, I'll do something. I tried to get a hold of Maddie. I swear I did. I tried to explain to her that what she's doing is evil and wrong and people are getting hurt. I was like, you haven't hardly heard what they've done. Any of the things they've done. I haven't been able to safely go see my brother without worrying about being assaulted in forever and a fucking day. I got a hold of Missy. I was also getting threats by Tim Beeson still, and harassment by Tim Beeson still. Tamara had quit her job because her son was autistic, and she didn't want him going through this hell. How easy it is to victimize somebody in my position. She didn't want her son becoming an adult and having to go through this, so she quit her job. It's not that I didn't go to any of the places I was supposed to go to. It's that they don't help males. They're sexist. Just like you guys. You want to say your pretty words. You want to talk about how you're supportive. I have to beg you to speak up. I was entertainment to you, and you promised to help me when it was entertaining. But then, when it was no longer the popular thing, you moved on. But you wanted to linger and pretend like you ever actually gave a shit. You didn't. You fucking didn't. And now people are dead. And guess how many of them I killed? 0. A big fat fucking goose egg. 0 people. I have killed 0 people. I threatened the lives of a grand total of 2 people. Both of them after Natalie's death. Well after Natalie's death. One of them after the people being fucking around with me nonstop. And the situation with Ted Bollinger and his daughter Alicia Bollinger, where Jordan Anderson did not take the situation seriously. You can see on the body cam, he doesn't scroll through it, he doesn't read it, he doesn't look at it. He's not interested. He did give you the papers to make a report. I did make the report. I did write it down, but what came of it? Ah! Same as here. You got to go to mental health. Mental health just wants to take your money. I have to live on, well, when Natalie was killed, for that year before, I had to live on $630 or less every month. Every single month. After Natalie was killed, all of my money was being spent going to fucking court date after court date and moving from place to place to place to place to place. I could not fucking afford that. What I needed was people to look at evidence and speak up, but they weren't doing that. They were arguing on Facebook. They were saying Sean wouldn't kill somebody. Sean would definitely not kill somebody. Well, Sean didn't fucking stalk anybody either. And y'all want to make fun of me for talking in the third person about myself like that. The thing is, I have to impress upon you somehow that just because I have a penis and white skin doesn't mean that people don't victimize me. I'm still broke. I'm still bald. I'm still not pretty. I'm still old. And the older I get, the less likely people are to care. The more likely people are to blow me off, to tell me it's somebody else's job. Years of this. Because my friends didn't speak up, and then they want to play victim when I record the conversations and post them in their entirety. I did tell the truth about the places I stayed after Natalie died. I also recorded the witnesses. I was at Todd Ryan Case's. He is friends with Ted Bollinger. He also did say that he was related to the Kelly family. He was also somebody who took me in after Natalie was killed, right after she was killed. But he wouldn't look at any evidence. He was too fucked up on ketamine. Every morning he'd get up and he'd scream at his girlfriend, take her keys, take her phone, kick her out of the house, and lock her out. By the end of the day, he'd let her come back. Like, fuck, dude, it's snowing outside. Sean, you need to mind your own fucking business. Years of this. When I go to cops, they blow me off. They don't write it down. They don't write the names of any of these other people down. The other day, when I had to talk to Trent Olson, how many names did he write down? He put his notepad away almost immediately. He didn't care about the crimes committed against me, just like the officer over there, Fred Myers, didn't give a shit about the crimes committed against me. My family didn't care about the crimes committed against me. Matter of fact, they committed crimes against me and took advantage of my disabilities. Fucked with my financial situation. And physically harmed me. Even my own dad. But that's what I knew to expect from the man. See, unlike you, I know these fucking people. Well, I had to learn everything I could about my family. They didn't bother to find out anything about me. As soon as they found out I was autistic, right out the fucking window. When my dad and I spoke to that neurologist, and he was saying that I probably had Asperger's and that it was a type of autism, after that, everything that I said, my dad would just treat me like I was retarded for saying it. You tell me it's my fault that people harm me. It's my fault that people stalk me. It's my fault that people call me up on these numbers. It's my fault, my fault, my fault, my fault, and that's the problem with this country. You automatically assume that the man is the predator, the woman is the victim, and you will look the other way to anything that proves the contrary. Fuck off. Good to be rid of you. Thank you for coming to visit. Stay out of trouble or don't get caught. Remember, you are your brother's keeper, and your sister's keeper too. And no victim left behind. People have made literally hundreds of fake accounts to harass me since Natalie's death. And they made at least a dozen of them before Natalie's death to harass me on. They actually threatened to kill me and my friends and family, which I have proven. I also have proven that I retaliated against these monsters by speaking up, not by threatening to kill them or attempting to kill them. And the 2 times that I did actually threaten, one of them after my grandmother's funeral, and one of them in August of 2018, after over a year of this abuse. Over a year of people doing what they can to ignore the evidence until it's gone. Not take a report, not accept a report, not accept a written report. I had to make my reports live on YouTube or live on Facebook if it would let me record. Because police always blew me off. Just like Girl Interrupted. Just so you know, I do smoke weed. Georgia. I don't hide it. I don't pretend that I don't. Most occasions it doesn't help. If my eyes are red as the devil's dick, you can be pretty self-assured that it's either because I got smoke in my eye or because I was crying before I started making the video. From time to time, not very often though, you might catch me stoned. Before you start saying stuff like, oh, well, Sean, maybe all you need to do is smoke some weed and it'll calm you. That doesn't change my situation, first of all. And second of all, it does the same thing that the meds do. It makes me stupid, just not for as long. Plus, there's the anxiety that goes along with, well, it might be legal in this state, but it's still illegal if you're homeless because you can only consume it on private property, your own private property, or somebody else's. Your car doesn't count. No matter what you want to say, the law doesn't see it that way. The abuse that I took in Hood River over that old man who wanted to assault me, that was over slander by law enforcement in Hood River. After that, I had to turn in the old man and the abuse by Hood River Police Department and Sheriff's Department. Meanwhile, I couldn't remember all their names. I didn't know all their names. I didn't ask for all their names. I usually ask for cards, but at that point I was like, you know what? Maybe they're trying to help this guy. Maybe they actually will. And it seems here in Oregon, they're all pro-drug as far as their laws go, but they're also anti-druggy here as far as their laws go. They'll also make lots and lots and lots of programs that you only have access to if you're a drug addict. That's one of the things about having to smoke pot. A lot of these dual diagnosis places, you have to have 2 things going on. You have to have a disability or be exploited, basically. Oh my God. Fuck. I gotta end this video. I just heard too fucking much. This shit is not okay. You get to see this person's number. You get to see some of the stuff that they're posting. But you know what? I would have to make 100 videos rapid fire when these people start doing this stuff. Each one of them only being a minute long or less, with a piece of evidence attached to each and every one of them. And would you ever actually look through them? No. But my predators would. They'd go through for the little bits and pieces that they could pull out to change the context and pretend something happened that didn't. They will be heard and I won't.